today? You know, that's the best way to show that you're citizens. You participate. Good going. Participate. Well, I'm here. Absolutely. We all get excited, and everybody should be excited, because today is a day to celebrate citizenship. We're going to celebrate citizenship. Now, something just happened on Tuesday, which is one way that we show we are good citizens. You can't necessarily do it yet, but does anybody know what that is? Voting. So one thing which is special about being a citizen of this great country is that we can vote. But what is most important is citizenship doesn't start or stop with voting. Citizenship depends on your active participation. Active participation. Because citizenship depends on all of you. And citizenship depends on every day here. Boy, are you guys good. I could never play hangman and win with you guys. You get all the words right away. Everyday heroes. Well, we have some very special heroes with us, because one thing that a hero does is they put themselves, do you know what harm's way means? Go ahead. Okay. So they do, this is a big word. This is a big word. They give up their time. They give up sometimes their comfort. They give up their comfort. They give up spending time with their family. They give up spending time with their families to keep us safe. That, to me, and more equally important, the greatest one is one who is willing to put their life, we say life on the line, who is willing to put their life on the line. Now, these people, do you know who I'm talking about? We are talking about not just veterans, but we are talking about those of you also who are active. And so this story of citizenship, which is called The Little Boy Who Saved His World, is dedicated to all of you. Once upon a time, don't all stories start like that? Once upon a time, in the faraway country called Holland, there was a little boy named Jan who loved to walk out across. Does anyone know what a lake is? Yes. Has anyone seen a lake? Yes. Really? Yes. Has anyone seen a lake when there's a lot of water that happens? What happens? What happens? So, pardon? Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's small. Well, it's less smaller than a sea and an ocean.
Okay. Well, what happens when it rains very hard, or when the ice starts to melt? What happens to those houses and those camps that are, or those roads along the lake? What happens? Go ahead. Anybody? I got so excited that I turned the mic off. It floods. Well, if it floods, then everybody's got to run and put, what do they do when it floods? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, you put a life jacket on, but what do you try to do also?
You actually try to block your house with sandbags.
Ah, sandbags. And some people run from their houses and go protect other people. They run and get sandbags and put around. So I'm going to tell a story about a little boy who lived in the country of Holland, or some people call it the Netherlands. And there's something special about Holland, which is the whole country is under sea level. And do you know what I mean by that? Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Anybody else?
It means like the land underwater.
Right. And so it means that the land Well, it means the land, that's right. And so if you have the stage, which is sea level up here, and the land of Holland is built down here, and unlike, I know none of you know any people who have farms, right? None of you know any people. You do? So you have a lake with water, and you have farms around here? Then you're going to be able to understand this story really well. Because imagine that the sea is here and the farms are here. Well, what do they have to do to keep the water out? What do you think?
Sandbags on top of each other, so water goes through the sandbags, door, go upstairs, and we have axe upstairs. You could grab the axe, you could bring your window open, and you have a window in the attic, and try to get on top of your
I don't know whether any of you have a junior civil defense group, but I nominate this guy to be president of it and to train everybody around. Tell everybody.
What? My name is Kayvon.
So I want him on my team. So you have the ocean up here, you have the land down there, and like in the south along the big rivers, Mississippi, they build something which here we call levees. So imagine they're big walls. You can't just put sandbags to hold back a lake, and you can't put sandbags to hold back a river or the ocean. And so they build walls all the way around the city. So this little boy, let's call him Jan, and his father was one of the main keepers of the levees, and his job was to walk up and down and check the levees all the time, just in case they heard a drip, drip, drip. Have any of you ever left a faucet on? What happens when you leave the faucet on? It starts to drip. Well, leaving a faucet on, you can lose some water and you can tighten the faucet, but if water is dripping through the levee, what do you think is going to come afterward? It's going to flood. So this little boy was always trying to help everybody. He was a great citizen, and he loved more than anything than to take food to the old man who lived way on the other side of the levee, who was blind, who couldn't get his own food. So one day his mother said, "Guess what I have for you, Jan?" And Jan started jumping up and down with excitement. And so his mother said, "Now remember," because Jan, like all young kids, loved to explore. they didn't get distracted much, right? You never get distracted, do you? So Jan took the food, goes out, and forgot to think about time. Because he loved to sit with the old man, because the old man would always tell him all kinds of stories of what it used to be like in Holland and all the good things that went on. And in those days, they didn't have, can you believe it? They didn't have telephones. And so when Jan finished, he started coming back, and he didn't notice until, what I say, the shadows started to go down, and it started to get dark. And by that time, his parents thought, well, Jan must have just stayed overnight with the old man. But Jan had heard drip, 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 and he got down, and he noticed, now I'm not going to stick my finger in there, because what would happen if I did that? I'd get a shock. But that's right, so I'm not going to do something shocking in front of all of you. So he saw a hole in the dike, and he bent down and he goes, I'm going to save my town. I'm going to plug the dike. And so he stuck his finger in the dike. And he felt very proud of himself until he noticed that it was getting dark, it was getting cold, and nobody was coming. Everybody had gone home. And so all he could do was sort of huddle up against the dike and try not to fall asleep, because he wedged, you know, he jammed his finger into the levee so the water wouldn't come out. And suddenly, without his knowing it, when the sun came up, he started calling. And there was a man coming by who heard his call, came down, he said, what's the matter? He said, there's a leak. And so the man started shouting, and soon all the neighbors gathered, and they patched up a hole in the dike, and they lifted up Jan on their shoulders and said, Jan, our hero, the boy who saved our world. And that's the story. When we talk about citizenship, that's a story of how you put yourself before others. You stand up for others who are in trouble. You stand up for others who are in need. And that's what makes hero, what makes courage. Now please, the next time the water's high and there's a flood, I don't want all of you just going running out there. Don't say Mr. Singh told us we should go. But you go to your teachers and to your parents and to your adults, all the adults, and you ask how you can help. But you know, there are different types of leaks. And one kind of leak happens when we look at people, pardon? One kind of leak happens when something goes wrong. And one of the things that goes wrong to me is when we don't stand up for people who look different than us. And we don't stand up when people are being bullied. And the flood of people, of anger about people who, and I don't look different, do I? No. See, that's because you like my stories. But you know, it's very important to stand up against anger and stand up against bullying and standing, so there are different kinds of floods that you can look at. And I'm going to tell you, I so enjoyed this time with you, and you were fantastic citizens, and I would love to be able to spend more time with you sometime if you'd invite me back. And have a great Veterans Day. Thank you all very much.